Good afternoon. Today we're going to cover perek 2, part 2. The tactics of the yetser. So just to recap what we covered in our last lesson, we learned about the neshama, that it is made up of 5 levels, and within those 5 levels, the nefesh also has 5 levels. So in part 2, the Ramchal is asking a question. And he says that the neglect of the neshama is a craziness, right? So his question is, why is it so difficult for man to avoid his task? Why is it difficult for us to correct ourselves? However, the Ramchal says this is all the tactics of the yetser hara. Yetser hara doesn't want us to do mitzvah, and one more mitzvah, and one more mitzvah. Yetser hara is trying to do everything in his power to stop us because he doesn't want us to go to Gan Eden, to go to Olam Haba. So he is trying to constantly keep us busy to the point that we don't have time for ourselves. And that's really what it is. We say, I just don't have time for myself, right? And you don't have time to examine and to look into what is the path of my life. What am I doing? Because yetser hara knows that if people would be paying just a little more attention to their ways, they would, without doubt, begin to reconsider their actions and regret their mistakes, and they would grow stronger from this, until they would leave the path of avirot. They would leave it completely. But Sarah doesn't want that. So he's trying to do everything in his power to stop us. The Ramchal says, however, that at some point in one's life, one might think and reflect about his deeds. So he starts learning, whatever his learning is, whether it's Talmud or Gemara or Halacha, whatever it is, if the learning is done properly and is done from the heart, then it is bound to change a person. But if we learn about Musar, which is the character, about correcting our character, but we don't do it regularly, we do it once in 6 months or something like this, that's not good enough to really have an effect on us, to help us to correct ourselves. So what happens? We just go back to the old routine. The Ramchal guarantees, he actually guarantees that if one sets time regularly, sets time, let's say twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever it is, to really learn from his heart, so that the learning really is internalized, and especially if it's learning about a musar, which is about correcting one's character, and one takes time out and think about his deeds without any distraction. At the end, the person will be successful and there'll be results. And we see this in history, how Paro, which we're going to be reading from the Haggadah on Pesach, that Paro, when Moshe and Aaron came with the elders, with the Zekenim, they came to Paro and they told Paro, you have got to let the Jews out. Hashem wants you to let the Jews out of Mitzrayim. Paro refused. But once they left, Paro thought about this request and realized the Jews have too much time on their hands. They have free time. They're thinking, I'm going to give them so much work that they are not going to be able to have time to think. about living, about freedom, about a rebellion, nothing at all. And that's what he did. He overworked them. He overworked them so much that they had no time for thinking for themselves. And that's the way the yetser hara works. The same way. He makes us so busy. So in two ways. First, he keeps us very busy for us to go find parnasa, and then to need to get what we think are our necessities. And the second way is that if there is any time left for our, we say to ourselves, oh, I work so hard, I deserve a vacation, I deserve a relaxation. And here and there we try to find pleasures, which there's nothing wrong. Of course we do need, we're not machines, we get tired. But there's a limit to how much one needs to overwork for parnasa and how much one does for pleasure. And even within pleasure, one could fit in the doing of the mitzvot. And the Ramchal said that to actually be able to see our deeds and to see what we are doing, if it's good or bad, that needs a little wisdom. And for ourselves, for our spiritual well-being. But by setting time aside, one is guaranteed that he will, over time, he will let go of all the mistakes that he keeps on doing. We see, actually, there are businessmen who are very busy, have a timetable that is always with meetings, with this and that, they're constantly busy, and yet they tell secretaries, listen, I want a free time in this slot. This slot here, don't give me an appointment. And what do? They bring in a rabbi who's going to sit down and sit with them and learn. And they do this, I don't know how many times a week, maybe every day, maybe twice a week, maybe once a week, whatever it is. But they take their time out to do their learning. And hopefully over time, as we said, over time, hopefully one who sits and reflects about his deeds, the learning will have an effect on him and change that person. The Ramchal also quotes the Navi Haggai. The Navi Haggai lived after the destruction of the first Bet HaMikdash, the first temple, and lived during the time when, before Ben Israel, the Jews were called back to build the second temple. And he said, Simu levavchem al darkechem, Simu levavchem al darkechem. He repeated this phrase twice, which, what does this mean? Set your minds to your ways. It means change your ways. And Navi was telling Ben Israel, change your ways. The first Bet HaMikdash was destroyed. We're going to build the second one. So change your ways for us to keep the second one. Unfortunately, as we know, it didn't happen. Shlomo HaMelech says, don't sleep. It doesn't mean actually just sleeping on your bed. It really just, don't sleep your life away. Wake up. Be aware of your action. And Shlomo HaMelech says, be like a swift deer. A deer we know runs fast. But Shlomo HaMelech says, be swift, be as quick as the swift deer. It means be very, very, very fast, right? As a deer is escaping from a hunter's grasp, and a bird is flying away from a trap. Why? Against the yetser hara. Be quick. Fight the yetser hara. Be quick. Don't just go along with it. The Ramchal continues as said that one who is careful and about his deeds and checks himself, he really cannot fight the yetser hara. At that point, when Hashem sees that we are fighting and we're trying so hard to fight the yetser hara, that's when Hashem steps in and helps us against the yetser hara. when Hashem sees that we are trying to do a mitzvah, whether it's tzedakah or just taking the time out for chesed, or any other mitzvah, Hashem will help us because we're trying to fight the yetser hara here. The Ramchal tells us also that one should think carefully that by doing a mitzvah, what am I getting? I'm getting a mitzvah and I'm getting a reward in Olam Haba. Chas v'shalom, I'm doing an avera, making a sin, I get a punishment and I don't get the Olam Haba. So for that, one must realize, what am I doing? Stay away from the sin and really try and do mitzvot as much as possible. And Hashem will guarantee the success of a person who changes his ways and Hashem will give him the power to fight the yetser hara. The yetser hara is waiting. He's waiting, he's around the corner for each and every one of us. And in Tehillim, David HaMelech said, Sofer Rasha LaTzadik u'mevakesh lehamito. That the yetser hara is waiting for a Rasha and he wants to kill him. Doesn't mean physically kill him, but it means that the fact that he's going to stop him from doing mitzvot. So mentally he's going to stop him from making mitzvot. That will be stopping him from getting life in Olam Haba. So even the tzaddik cannot escape the yetser hara. So the obvious question is, why did Hashem make the yetser hara so powerful? And the answer is, if the yetser hara would not be as powerful as he is, then people would not really be tempted to exchange a mitzvah for an avera. There's no temptation. All right, so I made an avera, so what? No big deal. I didn't do the mitzvah, no big deal, right? But I got the pleasure of doing an avera. And there is free will. Hashem gave us free will. But if the yetser hara would not be as strong, as powerful as he is, free will will not exist anymore. Free will is what Hashem gave us. Hashem gave us a choice to do good or to do bad, do mitzvah, do avera. It's up to us. Hashem doesn't force us to do a mitzvah. Hashem doesn't force us to make an avera. And that's why it says in Perek Avot to run away to run after a mitzvah, but run away from an avera. The fact that we fight the yetser hara, this is what gives the world the balance that the world needs. If you remember, we talked about this in the world, there's a balance in the world. Well, it comes back again, that the fact that we are fighting the yetser hara, so we are actually keeping that balance in check. We learned that Hashem helps us to overcome the yetser hara. But one cannot say, okay, Hashem is going to help me, so I don't need to make an effort. That's a very wrong approach, because if I don't make an effort, Hashem is not going to help me. It says in Perek Avot, Im en ani li mili. If I don't help myself, who's going to help me? And Chachamim tell us, such a person who doesn't want to help himself, we cannot have pity on him. We're not allowed to have pity on him, because he doesn't have pity on himself. He needs to wake up. He needs to understand that the effort and the pity, it has to come, the work has to come from him. Only then will Hashem help him with his struggle. One must make an effort to have da'ah. Da'ah means to know what is good from bad. And because once I know what is good from bad, that is what's going to help me and guide me with my actions. So if a person doesn't care to help himself, so not Hashem will not even help him. So in summary, to reach our goal, one must be aware and careful of his ways and his deeds, and know good from bad. So may Hashem help us and give us that wisdom to be able to see clearly from good and know good from bad. And in the zechut of this learning, may Hashem bless us all with beriut, parnasa, nachat, shalom, shidduchim, and zivugim.